Hi everyone. So I received quite a few questions about the cameo I used on the front of my mini album and how I made it and things like that. So I promised I would do a little video explaining the process of making so as far as the cameos go that I have on the front cover of my mini album, I use silicone molds, and I didn't buy mine, I made mine. But I'm sure you can purchase them on eBay, and I know Rachel O did a video about some molds that she had purchased online somewhere, and they were really nice ones. I'll track down the video and I'll put a link to that one in the description. Now, how I made my molds was, and unfortunately I don't have any of this stuff left to show you guys. But I used what's called Easy Mold Putty, and it comes in two little containers. One's purple, one's white, and you take equal parts of purple and then of white, and you mix them together. And once you mix them together, you have about 3 minutes to make your mold. Pretending this is silicone putty, you would just take your cameo. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows how to do this, but just in case. And this clay is not big enough, you would need, but you push your mold or your whatever it is that you want to make an impression of, whether it be a button, a charm, a cameo, and you would pull it out and you would have the impression of your mold in your silicone. And actually, what you do with silicone, to be precise, is you would push your image in there and you would leave it. The silicone will set around the image, and when it does, you can just, like, here, let me use actual silicone. Once it sets, if you just leave it like that, you'll be able to just pop your image out and you'll have your mold. Now, some people do make molds out of polymer clay as well, but these are not flexible. They're hard, and but they do work. Some people are very intimidated to use hard molds because they're afraid their image is going to get stuck in there or whatever. What you do is you use baby powder or cornstarch, and I just put a little bit in there like so, and I put a little bit on my table or mat or whatever it is I'm using, and then I use a brush and I just pounce it around in there to make sure that the powder is in all the nooks and crannies. Now, the reason I have this here is because when you take your clay, and the clay I'm using is Sculpey clay, it's called Sculpey clay. Polymer clay comes in many different forms. There's Fimo clay, there's Sculpey clay, there's, I believe it's called Kato clay. There's several different kinds, and really the best advice I could give is just, try them out. And eventually, if if this is something you do often, you'll find one that's a favorite and you'll stick to it. I did get my Sculpey clay at Michael's, so it is available at Michael's, and you shouldn't have a problem finding it. So with the hard molds, the reason I put this powder here is because I'm going to put my clay in the middle, and then I'm going to powder my fingers, because when you push the clay in, it's going to stick to your finger. And it will pull the image out. Pull the clay out with your finger. So I make sure that basically the back of the clay is powdered so that it doesn't stick to your finger. And I usually turn my mold over and just give it a little press to flatten it on the back. Now that's in there. How do you get it out? Well, I use an X-Acto knife, and I just gently sort of peel it up at the sides a little bit. Like so. See, I don't know if you can see, but it is coming free from the mold. It's actually out from the mold. Ooh. Or you can just do it that way. So there's my cameo, and I would just bake that at 250 for about 25 minutes, and it will harden to become like this. Now, when you have excess around the edge here like this, I don't worry about that. I just trim off the excess around the edge because it's very thin, and it won't shatter your, I guess it depends on what image you're working with. So I just trim off the excess like that. And I have a file, if you're doing something like a cameo that's perfectly round, using a regular everyday nail file should do just fine. Of course, I cannot find mine. What goes on in this room? I'll use this one. So just using a regular everyday nail file and just file it till it's smooth and it has a nice rounded shape, like so. Polymer clay, this particular polymer clay especially, is kind of like plaster a little bit, you know, has that feel to it. So I just smooth off the edges like so. If you have something that's a little bit more intricate, like here is my silicone mold. And again, if you're using silicone molds, you can bake the polymer clay just like that in the oven. Because it's silicone, it can go into the oven. Now, there's another kind of silicone putty that's quite popular amongst people, and it's called Amazing Mold Putty. You can find it on eBay also with this stuff that I use, which is Easy Mold Maker. If you had to pick between the two, I would probably choose Amazing Mold Putty because you get a lot more in it than you do with this one. This one was about 20 bucks and the container was about, you know, pretty little. So basically what you see is what I got out of it. So I didn't get a lot of molds out of it, but I couldn't find the Amazing Mold Putty anywhere. So I had to go with this stuff. But in the States, Michaels apparently carries your Amazing Mold Putty. And you know, I'm not even going to get started on my Michaels. Anyhow, so if you have something, if you're using a silicone mold, you can bake it just like this, and when it comes out of the oven, it'll just pop out no problem. If you have something that has a little bit more of an intricate design around it, I do the exact same thing. I just trim very close to the design, like so, with my scissors. Carefully, don't cut into the design. And I have this file set here, which is called the Precision File Set by Basic Gray. And I got mine quite a while ago, probably about 2 years ago. And I got it from scrapbook.com. And it comes with all these different, it also comes with a flat one like this, but I can't find it right now for some reason. But it comes with these different shaped files. And this one here is completely round. And this one here is rounded on top but flat on the bottom. And they're metal files, these ones. So I prefer using these two. They're my favorite. And when I have something that has a bit of a scroll design, sort of, this file works very well for sort of creating niches where there should be little niches, you know? See, now there's a bit of a dip in there where there should be. And so I just follow the design and carefully file out where there should be curves, etc. And then if I need to go in with my flat one, I can go in. It's actually quite relaxing to just sit and do this for a while and, you know, watch TV or whatever. It makes a bit of a mess, so make sure you're somewhere where you can catch the dust. Optionally, there are several other materials you can use for filling molds instead of polymer clay, although I really do find polymer clay to be the easiest and the most forgiving, and it's fun to play with. But there are things such as epoxy resin and polyester casting resin. This is polyester casting resin. I got it at my art store. I do believe you can get, in the States, you can get it at Michael's. If you're in Canada, you can get it at Curry's or at Dessert's art store. And it comes with, this is called a catalyst. So when you're mixing them, you would, for example, pour some of the casting resin in here. And on the back, there's a chart for how many drops of catalyst you need to add per amount. Be forewarned though, this resin stuff that you mix with, it smells to high heaven. And when I say that, I don't just mean it stinks. I mean your entire house will reek for days. I did this in this room with the window open and the door closed, and my whole house smelled. It's just so strong. It's crazy. So I won't do it again. I'm going to wait till it's warm out and do it outside. But with this stuff, you can, you know, mix colors in. Like I added Pearl X to this one to give it a pearl sort of look. It's a cameo. I'm pretty sure you're not going to be able to see it on the flip cam. But yeah, so you can play with those kinds a little bit. But again, I recommend polymer clay. It's much easier to work with. And it's, you know, won't stink up your whole house. As far as other things go, when it comes to polymer clay, I bought this at Michael's. It was expensive here, but it's probably $5 in the States. It comes with all these different shaped, you know, little cutters, and it has stamps, basically. They're like polymer clay stamps. And you can just screw this little thing on the end here, which, because I pick up the star, which is like the hardest one to hold on to. Because I'm doing it backwards. Hold on a second. There we go. And you can stamp that in your clay. It also has the entire alphabet. So, you know, you can slide the letters on here and stamp them into your clay to spell words like journey, believe, different things like that. So you can, you have a lot of different options for customizing little designs and little signs and things like that. You can also get little cookie cutters. These tiny little ones are, there's hearts, gingerbread stars, Christmas trees. I got these at skybluepink.com. Or you could just pick some up in the Michael's cake decorating section. There's lots of different shapes for cookie cutters and things. The Bulk Barn in Canada also has different cookie cutter shapes and things like that. So don't be intimidated. You can buy polymer clay molds, which are the hard molds, on eBay. I know there's 2 sellers that I remember I used to see. I'll see if I can find them and I'll link below. Now, polymer clay is a little bit harder to work with because it is stiff and you do kind of have to peel it out, as opposed to the silicone where you can just bake it in the oven and pop it out. That is a lot easier. But again, these can be fun to try and play with, and these are cheaper. And you can make your own, for that matter, by just using polymer clay and, you know, pressing your design into the mold, into the clay, peel it out, and then bake it in the oven, and you'll get your own little molds. So you'd probably try doing that first, and then work with one mold and see how you like it. And if you find it intimidating, then do go and try the silicone, because the silicones are really easy. Or just buy yourself some of the mold putty and make your own molds. It's really fun, actually. Something else you could try doing is using plaster. Depending on how deep. Now, these I did not make. These I purchased. But I did want to make a mold out of this little guy, but I ran out of stuff. So I couldn't make. So I'm holding on to them until I have a couple of them, actually. But I'm definitely holding on to one of them to try and make a mold. But he's made it of plaster. So, you know, I'm sure that you could buy plaster if you had I don't know how plaster would work in something like this. I would love to try it, though. I think I'll give that a try and see how it works. That would just pour and then let it set. But you could always play around and try it out. There's lots of different things. But to answer at least one of the questions, yes, I did make my own molds using my own cameos that I purchased and different things that I have. And yeah, so that's it. So you can do it too. Check eBay for either Easy Mold Putty or Amazing Mold Putty. I'm not sure if they have. I didn't have any luck finding Amazing Mold Putty, but in the States it should be much easier for you because they have it at Michael's. Freehand quite a few things. Like I made this bird here a long time ago. This tag is hideous, but don't worry about it. See this bird right there? Like I did that just freehand with polymer clay. So you can play around and come up with many different things, and it's very soothing just to sit there and sort of, you know, I mean, there's a reason kids love Play-Doh. It's relaxing. Anyways, I have some videos coming up. I rambled through this whole thing, didn't I? Oh, and one more thing is I always varnish my, of course, I don't know where my varnish went. I have, wait, I better find it because people will ask me. There we go. When I just paint them with acrylic paint, and then I use white, on the Cameos, I use white rub and buff. And that's because the Cameo Lady, you know, all Cameos are white in the middle. That can be very hard to paint by hand. And if you just get slightly screwed up, you know, you'll really see it. Rub and buff seems to be the easiest thing because you just rub it on the raised areas. And I usually use a Kleenex and wipe it off and then do it again and sort of layer it up a little bit. So this seems to be the easiest way for me to make a cameo sort of appear, you know, proper. And then what I do is I have this Delta Cermacoat, I guess. I thought it was folk art or something, but it's not. Delta Cermacoat Varnish Gloss Interior, like I'm doing a wall with it. It's water-based and it's easy cleanup. And I just give it a quick coat of that to protect the rub and buff and the paint and stuff. But you can get varnish anywhere. You can get it at Michael's. I'm not talking about like floor varnish or anything. You should be able to find this the same place you find your acrylic paints, like your folk art and things like that. I got this at Desserts in Canada. It was only a couple bucks or something. I've had it forever and it's still full. So it should last a really long time. I think you can get smaller bottles than this too. Anyway, if there's any other questions you have that I did not answer, please feel free to just post your question in this video and I will be glad to answer it for you. I have some videos coming up for some things, one of which will be a giveaway. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. I'll see if I can get some done today. Alright, thanks everybody for watching. Bye.